Part 114. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1131. Chapter 1131 Confession Video 1. Senior sister, you don't know that Fanfan and I are both in the imperial capital, Xiaoling pouted unhappily. Lan Tianlu and Chang Junyi were both from the imperial capital. They would be somewhere else if they weren't here. I happen to be filming here, Mo Zixi replied with a smile. The four of them often get together, and this is the first time for us, the female family members, to be here together. Last time when the senior sister was here, Zixi was not with Xiaojiji. After that, you had trouble with Yuj. This is the first time we are all here. Xiaoling walked beside them, getting more and more excited as she talked. Qian Yuman smiled slightly. It seemed that she and Tangyuj had just reunited today, and this group of people had already received the news. However, Xiaoling always felt that something was wrong when he spoke. Zixi, this is the first time you and Manman have met. Do you need us to introduce each other? Fei Fanfan looked at the two of them. Mo Zixi shook his head handsomely. No need, I heard a lot about what happened between them from Fan, so before I met Manman, I was already very familiar with her. Mo Zixi's words aroused ambiguous looks from everyone, and they all looked at Qian Yuman. Zixi is also my idol. Qian Yuman smiled sheepishly and took out the book she had just asked Mo Zixi to sign, happily smiling. I just saw him and asked him for his autograph. Wait, when Qian Yuman took out his signature, a message quickly flashed in his mind, and then his expression changed, looking at the extremely handsome Mo Zixi in front of him. Wait. Zixi, are you and Ji-fan together? Qian Yuman's voice suddenly became high-pitched, and the four high-quality men who spoke in front of her all looked over. Qian Yuman said something seemed wrong, but for a moment she didn't think about it. Gankai realized that in their conversation, it seemed that Ji-fan and Mo Zixi were a couple. Oops, it seems that Manman doesn't know some inside information, Xiaoling laughed slyly. Qian Yuman shook his head quickly. I heard that this Ji-fan found true love, but I didn't expect that he was actually gay. I didn't see a pair of women beside him before, and she was welcomed by a woman. She still remembers Tangyu's sister like Ji-fan. But he never expected that the person Ji-fan, who was a loser among the flowers, was looking for a man in the end. The horse has stumbled. The other three laughed. It seems that your man didn't tell you anything. Mo Zixi smiled and shook his head, then walked to Qian Yuman, grabbed her hand, and put it on his chest. Actually, I'm a woman. As for why I disguised myself as a man and became the king of film and television singing, that's a lot to say. Qian Yuman looked shocked. The idol she said she liked was actually a woman. A woman just like her. This is the same as when she ate dinosaur eggs in the morning and found out they were actually goose eggs. Mr. Tang and I just reconciled today, and we didn't even have time to gossip, Qian Yuman said in despair. Manman, how did you reconcile? Fei Fanfan asked with some gossip. Qian Yuman then lowered his head shyly and slowly talked about what happened in the morning. That's right. Even when I watched the video, I knew how much Yuj loved you. Mo Zixi was talking about the video of Tangyu's affectionate confession before Qi Lili I jumped into the river. Someone recorded it and everyone watched it? Pass. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1132. Chapter 1132 Confession Video 2. Manman, how did you reconcile? Fei Fanfan asked with some gossip. That's right. I heard from Fan before that Yuj is trying to pursue you, Mo Zixi said with a smile. She is Ji-fan's wife. Tangyuj often seeks advice from Ji-fan, so he knows clearly that during this period, Tangyuj Ji-fan said that the development between Qian Yuman and Qian Yuman was still a bit difficult. They were coming to the party today, and on the way there, they heard that Jian Yuman and Tanyuj had settled their differences and were back together, and would come to play golf today. Jian Yuman then lowered her head shyly and slowly talked about what happened in the morning, including how she took the initiative to ask Tanyuj if he loved her, and later learned that she was pregnant. Huh? Why don't you know that Yuj loves you? We all know it. Xiaoling looked at Jian Yuman in shock, looking at her expression as if she were looking at a strange creature. That's right. Even when I watched the video, I knew how much Yuj loved you. Mo Zixi was talking about the video of Tanyuj's affectionate confession before Chi Lili jumped into the river. Someone recorded it and everyone watched it? Pass. Mo Zixi, a later person, although she was not with Ji Fan when Jian Yuman and Tanyuj had an affair, they all knew what happened to the couple. Tanyuj's friends, and even Tanyuj himself, all believed that Jian Yuman wanted to divorce Tanyuj at the beginning, and used some calculations to get Tanyuj to sign the divorce agreement. During this process, Chi Lili was asked to help and staged a fake divorce. It's just that Jian Yuman was cruel and insisted on getting a divorce. Even though Tanyuj confessed his love affectionately, he still couldn't save the relationship. As for what happened to the child later, they more or less heard about it. Video? What video? Jian Yuman looked at Mo Zixi in confusion. It's the video from Zhongshang back then, Mo Zixi added. This video seemed to have been captured by the car surveillance camera at the time. She later watched it and thought Tanyuj was a rare man who loved his wife deeply. Oops, at this moment, Xiaoling, who had been jumping up and down, fell down. His head fell to the ground. It looked like the fall was very painful, and he made a violent sound. Fortunately, it was grass now. Otherwise it will be even more painful. What's going on? Lan Tianlu turned around and ran quickly to Xiaoling's side, bent down to help Xiaoling up from the ground, and lectured him with a cold face. Ouch! It hurts so much. My foot seems to be twisted, Xiaoling said pitifully. There were still green grass leaves on her face, which made her look so pitiful. I don't know how to walk well. It just rained a few days ago and the ground is still a bit slippery. Lan Tianlu still had a cold face and taught his little wife a stern lesson. I don't want to either, Xiaoling pouted pitifully. Is your foot okay? Lan Tianlu grabbed her foot and looked at it distressedly. It hurts a little bit. Xiaoling looked at Lan Tianlu with watery eyes, pitiful like a puppy. Let me take a look. Ji Fan got his master's degree in medicine and walked to Xiaoling to take a closer look. It's nothing. Go get some medicine and you'll be able to be alive and kicking tomorrow. Lan Tianlu immediately picked up Xiaoling and walked out. Ji Fan followed. Mo Zixi saw her husband passing and followed him. The four of them, Chang Junyi and his wife, Tanyuj, were left behind. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1133. Chapter 1133. Father and son separated by a door. 1. Lan Tianlu and Ji Fan left temporarily, leaving the four of them alone. Tanyuj was happy and skipped happily to the side of his beloved woman. Finally, those eyesores are gone, Tanyuj sighed endlessly. Jian Yuman glanced at Tanyuj and said with a smile. Be careful if Xiaoling hears it. If he hears it, you'll be dead. Jian Yuman was well aware of Xiaoling's personality and his constant pranks. Just what Tanyuj said just now was enough for Xiaoling to launch a series of revenge against him. However, there was Lan Tianlu behind Xiaoling, and Tanyuj was the third among the three. How could she dare to act wild in front of the cold boss? She could only let Xiaoling bully her, who told him that she was an eyesore. Are you tired? Tanyuj asked with concern, taking out a handkerchief to wipe her sweat. Not tired. Are you thirsty? Not thirsty either. Do you want me to carry you? Qian Yuman looked at Tang Yuj speechlessly. This man did it on purpose, absolutely on purpose. No, showing courtesy for nothing is either adultery or theft. I'm pursuing you passionately, don't you want to feel being chased by the man you love? I'm working hard to practice it now. Tang Yuj smiled brightly. Then Qian Yuman slapped Tang Yuj's hand away. The pursuer's hands are not like yours. Please keep a certain distance from me. Ah! Don't be like this. Tang Yuj instantly felt like he was being choked to death by his own words. Qian Yuman watched Tang Yuj's various rogue performances and kept laughing. The two of them arrived at their destination talking and laughing. Qian Yuman was not very good at fighting, so he stood aside and watched them fight while chatting with Fei Fanfan. 20 minutes later, Lan Tianlu and Ji Fan returned. Originally Lan Tianlu insisted that Xiaoling go home to recuperate, but Xiaoling was unwilling. The foot injury was not in the way and he could walk 2 steps. As a result, Lan Tianlu found a wheelchair and pushed Xiaoling over, making Xiaoling want to cry and think again. Laughing, I can't play ball, I can only chat. Today when they played ball, the women basically didn't fight back, but who was the best player? It was Mo Zixi, who hit several in a row and killed the other 3 men without leaving any trace. Naturally, Qian Yuman loved her. After knowing that Mo Zixi was a woman, she did not hesitate to become infatuated. Idol. As an idiot fan, even if her idol is a woman, it still doesn't prevent her from appreciating male lust, even though Mo Zixi is so handsome. The happy day passed quickly, and the working day came again. Last night, Tang Yuj wanted to stay overnight, but was kicked out by Qian Yuman. Early the next morning, Tang Yuj was standing at the door holding flowers, leaning against the doorframe. Discharged towards Qian Yuman. Beautiful woman, are you so lucky to have dinner with you? When Qian Yuman saw Tang Yuj at the door, she suddenly thought of something, stretched out her hand to pull Tang Yuj out, quickly closed the door, and smiled awkwardly. Why are you here? He didn't even say hello to her. Tang Yuj almost saw her son, who was still in the room. Last night, she hired him from Chao Xiaofeng to spend the night with her. Behind her, little Mickey, dressed casually, rubbed his eyes and looked at the closed door. He seemed to hear his mother chatting with his bad guy uncle. Although little Mickey thinks that the bad uncle is sometimes hateful, he still wants to see him. The most important thing is that he is pestering his mommy again. Little Mickey came to the door, stood on tiptoes, grabbed the door handle, and turned to open the door. Good night, let's go to the theater. No more updates. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1134. Chapter 1134. Father and son separated by a door. 2. Little Mickey seemed to hear his mother chatting with his bad guy uncle, so he crawled out of bed and walked to the door lock. Qian Yuman closed the door hard. Little Mickey came to the door and looked up at the closed door. Especially because he was not tall enough, he could only stand on tiptoes, grab the door handle, and turn the handle to open the door. Hey, why can't it turn? Little Mickey looked puzzled. The door opened very easily before. Qian Yuman was outside the door, her hand still on the door handle. Because the thing happened so suddenly, she had not recovered yet, so she was holding the door handle to calm herself down. Mr. Tang, why are you here so early in the morning? Not long after Qian Yuman finished speaking, he felt signs of rotation on the door handle. His eyes widened instantly, and he immediately understood that his son was inside. Open the door. Just now she felt that her son was showing signs of waking up, and sure enough, he still woke up. Her hands gently pulled it up at night. Little Mickey, who was only as strong as a 2 or 3-year-old child, was naturally no match for Qian Yuman and couldn't twist it inside no matter how much he did. Why can't the door be opened? Little Mickey muttered to himself in the room, unable to do anything about the door handle. Jian Yuman outside the door took the bouquet from Tang Yuj with one hand, and the other hand was still holding the door handle that showed no sign of opening the door. Even so, she did not let go. Of course I will take you to breakfast and send you to work. Tang Yuj took a step forward and wanted to hug her into his arms, but Jian Yuman blocked her with a flower. Speak well, don't move your hands or feet, don't forget that you are just a suitor now, Jian Yuman complained. Just as she was about to let go and leave, she felt a stronger touch to open the door. Little Mickey in the room took a piece of clothing, put it on the door handle, and pulled it down vigorously, trying to open the door with external force. Jian Yuman was startled, knowing that she couldn't stay here for long, as her son might make noise at any time, and if he was in a hurry, he might bang on the door and start shouting. "Mr. Tang, let's go eat." "I'm so hungry," Jian Yuman pointed to the direction of the elevator and said with a smile. "Let's go." "You go ahead." Jian Yuman still maintained her original posture and did not move. "Let's go together." Tang Yuj didn't find anything wrong with Jian Yuman. "No, you go ahead first, and I'll put the flowers in the vase." Jian Yuman didn't dare to let go for a moment, for fear that if she let go, little Mickey would jump out. "I'll go in with you." "Don't." Jian Yuman's eyes widened, she reached out to stop Tang Yuj, who wanted to get closer to her, and urged, waving a flower. "If we continue to pester, the existence of little Mickey will be exposed early." Tang Yuj narrowed his eyes dangerously and looked at the closed door. "Are you hiding a man in there?" "What nonsense!" Jian Yuman shook her head quickly with a serious expression. "I'm so hungry now. Go ahead and order for me. I'll be here later." It is true that she is hiding a man, but this man is a child, or the crystallization of their love, but she doesn't want Tang Yuj to know for the time being. She wants to spend some time in their world, so she doesn't want the little guy to show up and take away part of it. Attention, the key point is that he knows that little Mickey exists, and maybe he doesn't even try his best to pursue her. "There's something fishy." Tang Yuj looked at her hand that was holding the door handle dangerously, slowly approached Jian Yuman, and stared into her eyes. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1135. Chapter 1135. Father and son separated by a door. 3. What's the matter? I'm really hungry. Jian Yuman's heart beat faster and faster. Looking at Tang Yuj's expression, it seemed that things couldn't be hidden. Little Mickey was eventually discovered by Tang Yuj early. Reluctantly, Jian Yuman just let go of her hand, wanting to give up the struggle and let the father and son meet early. I don't know how little Mickey and Tang Yuj would react when they found out. Not to mention, when they are about to meet, I still have a little expectation in my heart. I was a little nervous, wondering if I would be scolded by Tang Yuj, and finally I hugged my son and left her aside. The moment Jian Yuman let go of his hand, little Mickey inside also turned the handle. However, due to the sudden release, he used too much force and his small body fell to the ground, with his touching the ground. Wow, it hurts. Little Mickey's hurt from the fall. He kept rubbing his and looked at the door dissatisfied. Mommy and bad guy uncle were talking at the door. The sound insulation effect was pretty good. He didn't hear clearly what the two people outside were saying at all. The door could swing, but he had just used his clothes to pull hard. The door did not open, and he fell to the ground. Little Mickey stood up while rubbing his butt. Tang Yuj and Jian Yuman, who were outside the door, were close to each other at the moment, looking at each other's faces. You were very strange this morning. There couldn't be any Kenny Appa or Senior Sue in there. Tang Yuj's expression at the moment was unpredictable, and it was impossible to guess what he was thinking. How is it possible? If I want to hide, I will hide 3. How can I hide only 1 or 2? Don't worry, Jian Yuman stretched out her hand and patted his chest. Really? If you dare to hide a man inside, I will let you know the consequences of hiding a man. Tanyuj kept bringing his monster face closer to him, giving people a terrible feeling, as if he would swallow him at any time. Lose. The man in front of me is really worried that he will hide the man. Interesting. At this moment, a cold and emotionless voice sounded from behind Tanyuj. Tanyuj turned around angrily and saw Su Warong, who was also holding a handful of perfume lilies in his hand. Today, he is still wearing a military uniform, but with the perfume lily on his hand, it gives people a contrasting cuteness with a touch of tenderness and fortitude. Senior Qian Yuman exclaimed, "Why did he suddenly appear? I was not prepared at all." "I'm here to see you." Su Warong nodded lightly towards her. "What are you doing with my woman?" Tanyuj immediately looked at Su Warong eagerly. "Your woman?" Su Warong's voice was filled with a hint of disdain, and his eyebrows twitched slightly. Qian Yuman reached out and pushed Tanyuj, teasing him in Su Warong's tone. "Yes. Why don't I know when I became your woman?" "Qian Tanyuj was depressed, with a look of hopelessness on his face. Wasn't he speaking unanimously to the outside world at this moment? "Are you going to fight against Senior Su?" Sure enough, this woman was eating from the bowl and thinking about the pot. Then Mr. Tang became unhappy and forcibly held Qian Yuman's waist and walked to the elevator, muttering that she must accompany him to breakfast before sending her to work. Compared to Tanyuj's rogue tactics, Senior Su was much weaker and just said with a straight face, "I wouldn't mind eating together." Little Mickey in the room opened the door at this moment. This time it took all her strength to open the door. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1136. Chapter 1136. Father and son separated by a door. 4. Little Mickey in the room opened the door at this moment. This time it took all her strength to open the door. "Yeah. It's finally opened," Little Mickey said happily. He held the door with his little paws and pushed it open gently. He raised his head, and before he had time to spit out the word mummy, he saw a man in military uniform in front of him. The man stood in front of him, blocking his sight. But Little Mickey's mommy and badass uncle leaned close to each other in a friendly manner and walked a certain distance without even noticing that the door was opened. Little Mickey raised his head with difficulty and looked at the cold uncle in front of him, tilting his head and wondering. "Who are you?" Hearing the Nyonyo child's voice, Su Warong stopped as he was about to step out. He turned his head and looked over. He saw no one, but the door opened. Lowering his head again, he saw a pink and tender baby standing, looking up at him with difficulty. Not to mention that the expression was somewhat similar to his, but he noticed the same face just by looking at it. "Isn't this similar to Manners? Who is this little milk baby?" Su Warong looked at Little Mickey in shock, his eyes almost popping out of his head. Little Mickey glanced at his shocked expression and shook his head helplessly. "Another mortal who is confused by my handsome face." Little Mickey stepped out with his little hooves and saw mommy and badass uncle standing affectionately at the entrance of the elevator, waiting for the elevator. Okay, she actually left her lovely baby son to hang out with the wild men outside. Little Mickey ran over quickly. Tanyuj, who didn't notice Little Mickey's appearance, saw the elevator opened and walked into the elevator with his arms around Qian Yuman. After entering the elevator, he quickly pressed the door button to prevent Su Warong from following in. He didn't know that Su Warong saw Little Mickey and didn't follow him. Fearing that Su Warong would catch up, he quickly pressed the door button. Little Mickey spread his legs and finally caught up, just in time to catch up with Tanyuj and the others. Sure enough, he saw the bad guy uncle hugging his beautiful mommy, and the two were talking and laughing. When Qian Yuman's eyes fell on the door that was about to close, She opened her mouth slightly in surprise because she saw her son looking at Tanyuj with resentment in his eyes. Tanyuj followed Jianyuman and noticed little Mickey. At the same time, the elevator door slowly closed to the ground, blocking the father and son who were about to recognize each other. Jianyuman's eyes widened. Sure enough, this little guy ran out. Jianyuman's expression was very strange at this moment. She originally thought that the father and son had met, but unexpectedly they didn't meet, and they almost met. Tanyuj saw that his woman had a strange expression and asked with a smile. "Did you see that kid just now? He looks just like you." "Yes, yes," Jianyuman nodded wildly, before he could recover. "I was shocked when I first saw it. How could there be a child who looks so similar to you?" After speaking, Tanyuj's eyes became very gentle. He held her waist with one hand and gently touched her with the other, covering her belly gently. "Do you think our child will grow up? Who will he look like? If it is a daughter, I hope it will be like you. She will be as cute as the little Mickey just now." Little Mickey. Jianyuman's eyes widened. He indeed knew little Mickey. The relationship between father and son seemed to be not bad. Jianyuman stretched out her hand, gently patted his paws away, and teased with a smile. "Who told me it must be my daughter? We got to know each other so quickly? Am I the one who will make you happy? Ha ha ha. It's still useful for me to stay at Little Mickey." End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1137. Chapter 1137. What is my father's name? 1. I also like my son. He can be as cute as little Mickey just now. Next time I have a chance, I will invite the little guy out to play with you. You will definitely like it. He speaks like an adult at a young age. He is very serious and sometimes his words are very funny. Tanyuj happily talked about some interesting things about little Mickey. He spoke vividly and happily. He didn't even notice that Jianyuman's expression was very strange. He was completely immersed in the story. Little Mickey, who wanted to rush in, was grabbed by the collar before he could. He was pulled back and bumped into one of his legs. Little Mickey raised his head and glared at Suwarong. "What are you doing?" That little face that was 60-70% similar to Jianyuman glared at Suwarong. Because he was a smaller version of Jianyuman, he spoke in a babyish voice, but he did things like an adult, which made Suwarong's cold face look cold. With a hint of playful smile. "If I hadn't caught you in time, you would have been caught in the door." Suwarong had a cold face, still looking down at the little guy whose expression was somewhat similar to his own. "Thank you," little Mickey thanked him very obediently. He was really anxious to find his mother just now. He was in a hurry and didn't care whether he would be caught in the elevator that was about to close. "But if you want to talk to me, can you bend down? I'm tired of raising my head." Little Mickey complained dissatisfiedly that Suwarong was inconsiderate and would not bully children like this. A smile flashed in Suwarong's eyes. He paused, but little Mickey turned around and jumped up to press the elevator door. Suwarong saw it and pressed it for him. "Children, who are you going to find? What is your relationship with Manur?" "Manur." Little Mickey heard this call, turned around and looked at Suwarong, and then showed a meaningful expression. "It's Mommy's suitor again, alas." Little Mickey could already speak the word suitor not long after he first learned to speak. As he grew up, he kept seeing many suitors around his mother, but most of them were by Kenny. Dad forced himself to retreat without a fight. However, there were still a few ignorant people who came forward, and little Mickey saw it, so it was not surprising at all that a man appeared next to Mommy. "Mommy? Are you saying that Manur is your mommy?" Suwarong's voice was a little high-pitched, but when he heard this answer, he was not surprised at all. Little Mickey and Jianyuman looked so much like each other that they were not mother and son. He still doesn't believe it. Su Warong also knew about Jian Yuman's difficult childbirth. Now he knows that a little boy survived. But it seems that many people don't know about it, including Tang Yuj. Otherwise, given Tang Yuj's personality, knowing that he had such a lovely son, instead of showing off everywhere, he would coerce the emperor to order the princes and pester Jian Yuman every day, instead of like now. What's your name? My nickname is Little Mickey. Little Mickey walked into the elevator, and Su Warong followed. Are you going after your mother and father? Su Warong asked very patiently. He didn't like children very much, but because the child in front of him was Jian Yuman's child, he became particularly patient. What, Dad? Do you know my dad's name? What's his name? Where is he? Little Mickey looked at Su Warong curiously. No one told him when he asked his elders before. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1138. Chapter 1138. What is my father's name too? Are you going after your mother and father? Su Warong asked very patiently. He didn't like children very much, but because the child in front of him was Jian Yuman's child, he became particularly patient. The tone of his speech has also become much softer. Judging from the appearance of little Mickey, he is only over 2 years old at most. Based on the fact that he was not pregnant last time, it is certain that the child is only about 2 years and 4 months old. From the brief communication just now, he discovered that this little milk baby is very smart and must have inherited Tang Yuj's IQ. Little Mickey is definitely the smartest of all the children he has ever seen. Su Warong, who didn't like children, was deeply envious of Tang Yuj at this moment for having such a cute son. He couldn't help but wonder if they would have had such a cute child if they had not separated at the beginning. It's just that I don't know if he still has a chance to be with her again. Thinking of Tang Yuj's triumphant expression just now, and then looking at the little guy in front of him, he felt that his chances were getting slimmer and slimmer. What, Dad? Do you know my dad's name? What's his name? Where is he? Little Mickey looked at Su Warong curiously. No one told him when he asked his elders before. Su Warong was stunned. Seeing little Mickey's curious expression, he immediately understood that this little guy didn't know Tang Yuj's existence. I'm asking if you were chasing after your parents just now. Why are you, a kid like you, here? Where are your parents? Su Warong did not choose to reveal that the man who was with Jian Yuman just now was his father. Even Manner didn't tell her about her son, and he would not choose to reveal it. If it were revealed, Manner might blame herself. Coupled with selfish motives, Tang Yuj is still chasing Manner. Manner doesn't want Tang Yuj to know that she must not accept him yet, and she has her reasons. If he went to tell the truth, it might give Tang Yuj another chance to get close to the mother and son. So, he intuitively chose to change the topic and pretended not to know that this little guy was their son. Little Mickey was somewhat disappointed when he heard Su Warong's answer, and walked out of the elevator with his shoulders shrugged. I thought you knew who my dad was. Little Mickey took a step and suddenly remembered something, so he came back and stood next to Su Warong, raising his little head. You are holding my mommy's favorite flower in your hand. You just called me Mommy Manner. Then you are looking for my mommy. You and my mommy know each other. Why are you asking me if I am here? Chasing your parents? Isn't this an obvious question? Little Mickey, who grew up and became smarter, suddenly found a breakthrough point. Su Warong was stunned. He deeply admired this little guy's observation ability. The more we got along with him, the more shocked he was at his intelligence. I asked you just now if Manner was your mommy, but you didn't answer me. Really? Little Mickey tilted his head and thought, as if he really didn't answer him just now. Then let me answer you now, I am chasing my mommy, who just ran away with the wild man. No matter how smart little Mickey is, he is still a child and has not experienced much in the world. He still believed it after being coaxed by Su Warong with a few words. Wild man. Su Warong twitched the corners of his mouth slightly, feeling deep sympathy for Tang Yuge. Think about how he would feel if he knew that his son was treating him like a wild man. Little Mickey walked to the hotel lobby and looked around, looking for Qian Yuman and the others. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1139. Chapter 1139. Little Mickey who mistakenly identifies his father. 1. Wild man. Su Warong twitched the corners of his mouth slightly, feeling deep sympathy for Tang Yuge. Think about how he would feel if he knew that his son was treating him like a wild man. Little Mickey walked to the hotel lobby and looked around to find where Qian Yuman and the others were going. Where are Mommy and the others? Did I lose track of you? Did I really run away with the wild man? Damn it! Little Mickey suddenly became jealous and turned on the thought mode, hoping to teach the wild man a lesson the next time he saw him. Let him take away his mommy. His mommy can only belong to his little Mickey and no one can take it away. Snort. Little Mickey clenched his fists and waved them in front of his chest several times. Su Warong, who was following, looked at little Mickey's lively expression, and a smile flashed in his eyes. Things seemed to be quite interesting. Little Mickey turned around and walked away vigorously, and Su Warong followed him. Little Mickey noticed Su Warong's following and immediately turned around to face Su Warong, with his hands on his hips and his head raised, glaring at Su Warong angrily. Why are you following me? Do you want to be a human trafficker? Even know the word human trafficker? Su Warong twitched his eyebrows slightly, feeling very interesting. I'm worried about getting lost. Do you think I'm a child? Will I get lost in a hotel? This still looks down on his IQ. You are a child normally, a child of his age would be cared for and taken care of by his parents, but the child in front of him had a somewhat outrageous IQ and was a little different from normal children. Let's go, I'm going to find my Aunt Xiaofeng. I'll take you there, Su Warong insisted. Little Mickey didn't bother to continue arguing with him and pressed the elevator on the floor where Chow Xiaofeng was. Su Warong walked him to the door of the room. Chow Xiaofeng came out to open the door and was relieved that this little guy could really walk home by himself. Chow Xiaofeng was startled when she opened the door and saw Su Warong. Senior Su. This was the first time they met after they separated in San Francisco. Because of Qian Yuman's relationship with Su Warong, she also knew Su Warong and had dinner together at the same table several times. Xiaofeng. Su Warong nodded politely. Aunt Xiaofeng. My mommy ran away with the wild man, and I can't catch him. Little Mickey complained seriously with a serious face. Chow Xiaofeng looked at Su Warong, then at little Mickey, and suddenly laughed. Your expressions are exactly the same. People who don't know better would think you are father and son. Not to mention, little Mickey has a cold expression, and Su Warong is also cold, with no expression at all. But at this moment, little Mickey has a hint of anger on his face, while Su Warong has a hint of playfulness. Who and Big Ice Cube are father and son? Little Mickey said dissatisfiedly. After speaking, he turned his head and looked at Su Warong. No, you really are my father. Looking pretty cool, as cool as him, it's still acceptable to be a father. Being teased by Chow Xiaofeng and little Mickey's words, Su Warong's face showed a faint smile for the first time. If that's the case, I'd be honored. If he really had such a lovely son and was born with manner, he might instantly become the happiest man in the world. After making sure that little Mickey was safely delivered to Chow Xiaofeng, Su Warong left with peace of mind. Little Mickey grabbed Chow Xiaofeng's trousers and asked, Aunt Xiaofeng, that big ice cube just now can't really be my biological father. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dowby in the World. Chapter 1140. Chapter 1140. Little Mickey, who mistakenly recognizes his father too. Little Mickey grabbed Chow Xiaofeng's trousers and asked, "Aunt Xiaofeng, that big ice cube just now can't really be my biological father." Chow Xiaofeng was amused by Little Mickey's childlike words, and bent down to pick up Little Mickey on the ground. "Do you think your father is so cold?" "Like, because he is as cool as me, and he wears a military uniform. He must often play with guns. I seem to play too. It's so cool." Little Mickey's eyes lit up. If the cool uncle just now was his father, he would definitely accept it happily and let his father take him to the army to play with guns and ride on tanks. "Ha ha ha," Chow Xiaofeng laughed, amused by Little Mickey's words. "I began to sympathize with Tangyuj in my heart, because you made mistakes back then, and now your son may have to recognize someone else as his father." In the past few days, Little Mickey was being taken care of by Chow Xiaofeng. Naturally, he had to play around with a tow bottle. That afternoon, when Little Mickey and Little Mickey were playing games in an arcade, a group of men in black suits picked them up. Confined in the middle. Chow Xiaofeng's eyes widened instantly, and she immediately hugged Little Mickey into her arms, looking at the people around her with eager eyes. "Who are you? Why are you blocking our way?" Chow Xiaofeng hugged Chow Xiaofeng tightly with some fear. She was certain that she did not know these people. This was her first time in the imperial capital, so it was impossible to have enemies here. Could it be because of the Little Mickey in her arms? "Chow Xiaofeng, right," a man at the head said loudly. "I'm Chow Xiaofeng, who are you? What do you want from me? Why are you guys blocking me? I haven't offended you, please leave." Chow Xiaofeng's heart sank, knowing that this time things were not going to happen. "Okay, I don't know where I offended the group of people in front of me. Disperse." "How is that possible?" Suddenly a high-pitched voice sounded, and then the group of people surrounding Chow Xiaofeng dispersed, and a woman in rich clothes walked in. The person who came here was wearing a mink coat, with delicate facial features, and he looked pretty good, but his arrogance was very annoying. "It's you, Scene 11." Chow Xiaofeng frowned and stared at the woman in the mink coat. She knew this woman. She was Ye Yuan's new wife. Scene 11. She has always known about this person's existence, from the moment she was with Ye Yuan. It was originally just a family marriage, but it surpassed the love between her and Ye Yuan. After many years, she could not forget the way she was wearing a wedding dress and marrying Ye Yuan on that wedding day. She admitted her mistake at a glance. "I didn't expect you would still remember me." Scene 11 sneered, her eyes falling on the child in Chow Xiaofeng's arms. "What do you want to do? Why are you looking for me?" Chow Xiaofeng didn't understand. She had already left Ye Yuan, so why would she come to see him again? Chow Xiaofeng was also trembling because of fear. The visitor was evil. There was Little Mickey in her arms. "Aunt Xiaofeng, don't be afraid, I will protect you." Little Mickey reached out to pat Chow Xiaofeng on the shoulder to comfort her. "Little Mickey, be good, Auntie won't let anything happen to you. You should understand why I came." Scene 11 sneered, and with a wave of his hand, the people in suits and black clothes came over and pulled Little Mickey away from Chow Xiaofeng's arms, while Chow Xiaofeng was caught. The arms fell in front of her. End of this chapter.